I think we're live.
I think we are too, Tom. This is
Yeah, I
exciting.
believe
I
we're live. I
see.
think, yeah, I think they opened it, Tyler.
That's
Say
great.
something
Awesome.
funny.
I know. I should have saved a corny dad joke for us. You got any corny dad jokes, Tom?
My dad's favorite joke goes like this. Uh, I'll tell like this. An old man and his wife are in the grocery store, and the old man gets busted for shoplifting, and so they go in front of the judge, and the judge says, "What'd you steal? Can of peaches. How many peaches? How many peaches are in a can? 6. All right, I sentence you to 6 days in jail." And his wife jumps up. Your Honor, I object. What are you objecting to, dear? He stole a can of peas too, because she wants him to go to jail longer. See something?
Of course, of course.
It's
That was
funny when dad
that was
tells it.
exactly the dad joke I was hoping for, Tom. So
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly. Corny, bad, but you'll tell it.
All the dozens of participants we have on this call, I'm sure, are laughing behind the camera. But good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyler Hoffman. We're going to wait one more minute before we get started. I like to be punctual, but we'll give everyone one more minute to kind of get the Zooms figured out here, and then we will dive in. It's exciting to see some familiar faces and names. I believe the chat is open, so feel free to opine in with any comments or things that you have along the way. We also have a Q&A functionality built out into the Zoom webinar. So please submit your questions throughout the webinar. We will get to all of those questions at the end during our last 15 minutes for a Q&A session, but feel free to submit the questions at any point during the webinar. You don't have to wait to submit those. While we are waiting for people to jump in, I always like to ask the question of where are people dialing in from. So if you could hit the chat for me and let us know where you guys are dialing in from. I always like to kind of see where folks are coming from.
Chat's disabled at the present.
Okay. And I think, you know what, we did that in favor of the Q&A. So thank you, Tom, for
Yep.
the reminder on that.
Yep. So please put questions into the Q&A, and we're going to answer at the end. We're going to answer every question. And the way we're going to answer every question is we will read the question first, and then we will answer the question. So please, when it pops into your head, ask it. It will have confidence. It will get answered. And that's the format we're going to do it. If you're thinking it, someone else is probably thinking it too. And so you're helping all of us, frankly, while asking a question. We think we're being 100% clear. We're probably not. And so questions really help us tighten up what we're getting across cleanly and what we're not.
Awesome. And Tom, you can see my screen, right?
Absolutely.
Good. Let's go ahead and dive in. We're at 103, and I see we have a good quorum of our participants already on board. So good afternoon, everyone. If we have not met yet, my name is Tyler Hoffman. I'm the CEO and owner here at Metro Wireless. We're really excited to present on Starlink and all the changes that have come through in the last couple months. I'm joined today by my colleague, Tom Benson. He's our Vice President of Business Development here. He's been with us some time. He has way more years of wireless expertise than I do even. And so we're here to talk shop about the changes that have come through with Starlink and kind of what our solution is and how we can help you avoid some of those speed throttling and overage charges. Mitchell, good to see that you're from Arlington, Texas with One Simple Connect. You guys are good friends of ours, so thanks for dialing in today. As far as our run of show, we have a few things we want to talk about. We're not going to spend too much time on us, but we do just want to quickly introduce who Metro Wireless is in case you don't work with us today, and why we are the Starlink experts, so to speak. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the recent changes with the Starlink plans. Those changes came through on April 15th, so either yourself or your clients might have some pain that they're already enduring with these new Starlink plans. Tom's going to talk about what happens when you run out of priority data, which is kind of the way Starlink bills its commercial services. Tom's had quite a few clients right now kind of working through this, and we're applying the changes for them now. And then Tom's going to start talking about Metro Bond by Metro Wireless. That's our Starlink and 5G bonding service that a lot of Starlink users are moving to in the commercial space to kind of mitigate the overage charges and the throttling that they're getting from Starlink directly. Tom will then talk about a client success story. It's an oil and gas client in the Texas area or California area that he's had some good success with. And then, as promised, the last 15 minutes we'll leave to Q&A. Eve, just on our side, make sure, I think we are recording. I can't see it, but I trust that we are recording the session. So if
Yeah,
anyone,
recording again.
good. And that's all to say. There's a few housekeeping matters. By default, everyone's mic is muted, so please use that Q&A functionality that we do have available for you. Mitchell's already used that, and I already answered another question in there or acknowledged something. If you run into any technical difficulties, Eve is our member on the team who will help you with that. Send him an email, and he'll get you taken care of. Please share the Q&A questions as we already discussed. And then finally, this webinar is being recorded. So if you or your colleagues either have to leave early or we're not able to attend today, we'll be emailing out the slides, the recording, as well as the transcription of today's webinar, just so that we have good distribution. So please let us know if you need any help on that end. But diving right in, so in case you don't know who we are Metro Wireless. Thanks, Zach. We are Metro Wireless. We're a national managed service provider based proudly here in Detroit, Michigan. I actually live in the city proper. We've been in the space since 2013. Our history is starting off in microwave point-to-point fixed wireless, now evolving into LTE, 5G, and now Starlink, of course. But our claim to fame is we get to say you get to keep your carrier, whether it's Verizon, Starlink, AT&T, T-Mobile, but get rid of the headache. And so we have a managed white glove approach that we take to solve things for our clients, and we're really excited about it. Our 24/7 knock is based here in Detroit. We like to say, please excuse the Michigan accent when you call in, because our team is based here. I have to brag as a proud father to the team. We have some pretty cool stats behind our service and support. So we average a 9.5 out of 10 in our CSAT scores, less than 30 seconds on average to get a live knock tech whenever you need support. Clients really like our onboarding process and our project management. We're lucky to say we have a 5 out of 5 on Google, and our clients tend to stick with us when they sign up. So it's a pretty cool thing, and we're proud of it. What makes us Starlink experts, however, is the fact that we are an official partner of Starlink. We joined the Starlink partner program last, I believe it was April or May of 2024, so we've been in it for over a year. There are kind of some rigor and requirements to join the program, and so we are one of the few providers in North America who has joined the partner program for Starlink. Since then, we are a PepLink shop as well. If you're not familiar with PepLink, it's similar to a Cradlepoint router. And so between the Starlink combo with PepLink, we've been really successful out in the field and with our client base deploying these managed wireless solutions. So from the hundreds of sites that we've deployed, we've learned a thing or two. Not to say that we know it all, but we've certainly learned a thing or two about deploying Starlink and best practices around the space. So yeah, that's kind of brought us over here. As far as what's changed in the Starlink space, so it's no secret that Starlink has been around now for a number of years, especially in the residential space. We like to think that Starlink in the commercial sector probably got really serious in the last 2, maybe 3 years. And so Starlink initially had launched with some different types of data plans than they changed to in April. Under the old way, and again, I'm not speaking to residential or consumer type plans. We're only talking about the commercial and business plans here. But Starlink typically used to offer 2 types of plans in the United States. I'm not talking about residential or consumer, nor am I talking about international for the time being. From there, Starlink offered 2 types of plans. There were the fixed site and the mobile plans. Fixed site meaning it's obviously installed at, say, a building or a warehouse or in a field. It's not moving. The dish is not intended to move. Whereas the mobile plans were meant for use in motion, whether that was maritime, on a vehicle, maybe it was like a temporary event or festival type setup that was moving. And so customers would purchase a priority data plan bucket that was commensurate with either fixed site or mobile. These priority data buckets are considered the fast lane on the highway experience. And what we mean by that is they have the highest network priority outside of like first responders. First responders kind of get a carve out for always getting the fastest speeds, lowest latency, best uptime, things like that. But outside of that, commercial users buy priority data buckets commensurate with their needs. Whether a customer who was only using Starlink for backup purposes might be able to get away with the 40 gig plan. Clients who needed more of a primary circuit might buy a terabyte or 2 of data per month. And upon exhausting that bucket, and this is the critical part about how the old plans used to work, is Starlink could throttle speeds during times of network congestion. They might throttle you down to say 100 megabits per second versus say the 200 or 300 megabits per second downloads that clients used to get. And that would last either until you added more like a top-up bucket of priority data or until the billing cycle ended. A lot of customers were okay with this standard data because the throttled speeds were not that bad. Flipping to the new plans, however, and this change took place on April 15th, so users are now probably 6 to 8 weeks into the new style of billing and plans. No one was grandfathered, by the way. So upon exhausting, when a client, either a new client that signs up or even existing clients on the priority plans, upon exhausting that priority data, standard data is now always throttled to 1 megabit per second downloads and 0.5 megabit per second uploads during the data cycle. Again, the only way to get around that throttling is to pay more money, which Tom will get into, or to consider bonding it with 5G, which we'll also get into in a minute. And so it got very expensive very recently for clients who demanded a lot more priority data, whether it's faster speeds, things like that, to run their business operations. And so it's a huge problem in the Starlink space. Starlink has gotten way more expensive recently, and it's been a huge change that is really impacting a lot of people, end users, channel, etc. Tom, I want you to talk about this. I know this came from a recent client of yours, and so I think you can speak, best to this.
Yeah, I mean, this is an example that, as much as we made we made as big a fuss about this as we could, but we're one company. I think this information is, in fact, I'm curious in the Q&A if anyone would respond to this, is to what level this information has gotten out to the channel. When we presented this, some of this information a month ago on a webinar, there was a fair amount of, oh, that's coming. Okay, I can see that, but now it's happening. And so when customers are hitting their data limit, Starlink is successfully able to identify those customers, and they are throttling them to 1 meg. This could happen on week 1, it could happen on day 11, it could happen on day 14, but when it happens, it happens. And 1 meg is, I think everyone will agree, is unusable data speeds. If there's a business out there that can limp along on 1 meg down and 0.5 meg up, they're probably not a great prospect for any of us. So really, we're throttling to less than DSL. We're throttling to 19. We're back to 1992 here. And then cost-wise, it's not cheap. Your typical business unit is using 3 to 5 terabytes a month. Just adding, if you have 1 terabyte plan, you add 2 more terabytes. That's $1,000. And you have to scramble to do it. So there's a real cost element, but there's a management element, and there's an emotional element to this. There's about 1 million business users on Starlink out of a 6 million dish deployment. It's estimated that 1 million are business users. And for those people, they all entered under the premise that I'll pay X amount per month and then I'll throttle to no less than 100 meg. 100 meg's not bad. It essentially was pitched as unlimited, if you will. Well, that got taken away from them, and in the channel, that got taken away from your customers, or in the channel, that got taken away from your prospect. And now they're looking for someone to give them sort of the straight advice, because the person that brought this into them didn't know it was coming, in fairness, but it happened. And so now they have a problem. Get throttled to 1 meg or pay. And it's real, and it's enough money to pay attention to. So this is happening as we speak.
And Tom, we'll flip to the next page here. So help us understand, what are end users' options at this point?
Yeah, so if you can get to 1 meg down, and with all things internet, it comes down to, is this their primary internet or their backup? If it's their primary, then they're paying attention to this, and they're probably using a fair amount of data. If it's their backup, they may or may not have been impacted by this, depending on how big a data plan they brought in. So step 1 is, from a Starlink, these data changes only affect people who are exceeding their priority data plan. If they're not exceeding their priority data plan as of yet, and they never will, they are utterly unaffected by this, and we can safely ignore them. However, people tend to use internet more. And so we estimate that 15% of all Starlink users are using it from their primary internet provider. It's their only line out. And in that case, these are their options. They can get throttled to 1 meg, which is somewhat preposterous. They got Starlink for a reason. They're not throttling to 1 meg. There are other 2 options in month. If they don't want to get throttled, they can, I don't think realistically they're getting another facility in this. From a Starlink perspective, they have to add data, and that's in a 50 gig top-up block. And now the way that works is you buy it 50 gigs at a time, and each gig costs you $25. So if you're so now you got to do the math. If you're so how much do you add? And that's part of the problem here, is how much do I add? If I add 100 gig and I burn through it in 3 days, now I get throttled again, and I got to burn through it. So do I add a terabyte for $500? Okay, I'll add a terabyte for $500. Well, then you only use 600 gig to the end of that month. That's great. You didn't get throttled anymore, but the 400 gig you didn't use, does that carry over? No, it does not. It gets burned up. So now we got a breakage problem. Then you have to talk about, do I have to upgrade my account permanently going forward? Because this top-up block thing is a pain in the butt. You can permanently upgrade it for 500 gig in 500 gig increments, to be accurate. And then that's a permanent billing thing. And now we have the breakage problem again. If I add 1.5 terabytes permanently, and that costs me an extra $750 a month, but I only use 600 gigabit next month. Do I get to carry my data over? No. We're back to managing data pools here. And I've been in wireless since 2013, so I've done a lot of data pool management. You never get it right. You never get it right. You never buy it at 100% accuracy when you have to pre-purchase how much data you're going to use. There's always breakage. This is not an accident. There's a design to this. And so it becomes an ongoing management problem, or you get throttled. It's a bit of a gun to the head to the business. Pay up or get shut off. And most businesses don't want to be in that situation.
And Tom, I kind of tease out the third alternative, which is probably our preferred, honestly, right? The Metro bond piece of it.
Metro bond is a way of just ducking this entire dynamic. And we're going to show some slides and some videos on this, but what it's based on underlying is we bond a 5G circuit to the Starlink using peplink speed fusion technology. And what I want to emphasize on this is, one, it's not our tech, it's peplink's tech. It's 7 years old, it's well tested, it's on version. I have no idea how many firmware upgrades there's been, but there's been at least 17. It's proven in the field, it's proven in the wild, and we've actually deployed this. So you bond the Starlink and the 5G together. Our 5G services are truly unlimited. Our 5G services are truly unlimited. I know you've been lied to about this by other providers. I acknowledge that. They're truly unlimited. I welcome your skepticism. Please bring it. It's truly unlimited. It's truly unlimited. No caps, no overages, no throttling, no deprioritization, no carve-outs, no excuses, no lies. And believe me, I understand that you've been lied to. And that's the wireless industry, and it has an ethics problem. It always has. So we bond the 5G and the unlimited together, and then we dynamically allocate the Starlink data so that it lasts throughout the month. And we engineer the 5G circuit for high performance. So the first thing that pops in your head is, what if there's no 5G signal? Then we use 4G signal. What if there's no 4G signal? What if there's no cell signal at all? Then Metro bond doesn't work. We understand. If you're a Starlink user and you only can use Starlink and you're in the middle of nowhere, you're a mining thing in Reno, there's no tower within 10 miles of you, and you have to use Starlink, then you are going to pay what Elon tells you you're going to pay. That's life. You put your business where there's no internet, so hopefully your business is profitable enough to pay your accelerated internet charges, because that's just the way it goes. But most people are where cell towers are. And so this is where Metrobond really steps in. And we can freeze your Starlink costs and guarantee that you will never get an overage bill and you will never be throttled. And we will increasingly rely on the 5G, but you will not see an increased cost. And that's the essence of Metrobond from a financial perspective.
Well said. And Tom, before we get into kind of the solution to the problem, we have to be on balance, right? And share the full picture. And we have to say there are a couple parts in the new plans that we do like, right? We were talking about this just the other day. What's interesting now is that all of the Starlink plans in the US can now be used in motion, right? So there's no delineation between fixed site and mobility. All the plans can be used, say, on a vehicle or moved around for temporary events and things like that. The other cool thing is not only does Starlink offer the enterprise dish, but the new mini dish came out, which is pretty cool for businesses to use who have kind of space requirement issues. Again, people who are shipping these Starlink dishes a lot from site to site will enjoy having a smaller form factor to work with, right? They're also a lot more cost effective. The enterprise dish is now 70% more cost effective than the high performance dish that was used by enterprises before. The mini dish is retailing, I think, between $200 to $400, depending on where you're looking. So there's a really cool opportunity now to get into Starlink more cost effectively, at least from a dish and antenna perspective. The last thing I want to call out too is Tom and I put together some real world statistics based on what our clients are seeing out in the space on their usage. And because a lot of clients don't understand how much data they're actually using on a monthly basis. So here we took a cross section of December through February data usage on a random selection of Starlink users. Some of these users are using it for primary use cases. Others are using it for backup. As you can see on the top line here, a client who is paying for the 1 terabyte priority data plan was actually using more than 9 terabytes of data on a monthly basis. That just won't work anymore, unfortunately. And so we got this client solution on the 5G bonding service, but nonetheless, they were really hammering their Starlink circuit. And this is kind of what Starlink was looking to avoid, is people who hammered their data plans without paying for that extra priority data. So that was pretty interesting to see. On the bottom row there, the 40 gig user, again, this user was using this as a backup circuit. They were just buying the 40 gig data plan. But on average, they were using 130 or so gigabytes per month of data. And so again, this client thought that, oh, the 40 gig plan was fine for me. But in today's world, if they didn't pay for those additional top-up buckets or the 5G bonding, which Tom will get into in further detail in a moment, they'd be dead in the water, right? And so it's pretty interesting to kind of share that real world data that we're seeing and seeing the usage from our clients. So again, we've kind of, Zach kind of painted the picture. We tried to pre-warn everyone before the changes came. But for anyone who wasn't a client of ours, they might have been blindsided by this. So it is interesting there. Tom, you've already started to tease it out, but please, kind of opine a little bit further about, what is Metro Bond, or Metro Bond X as we're starting to call it, and use cases and things like that.
Yeah, so Metro Bond at heart is just a channel bonding scheme. Anyone who's been, if you consider yourself a veteran in this field, I got into this mess in 1991. Channel bonding's been around forever. So there isn't anything really new here. We're applying channel bonding technology to any circuit with PepLink. Just to be accurate, you can bond anything with anything, but most people ask us to bond wireless with wireless. And most people ask us to bond Starlink with 5G. That's not your only option, but it seems to be the one that resonates with people the most. And it's a strong bonding combination. You get the performance of two different networks, you get the diversity of two different networks, and both of them are uncuttable. And one of them is even hurricane proof. Starlink, there's a lot of things they don't do well. They don't support their customers directly well at all. They don't respond to service messages. Their billing doesn't get consolidated. They really don't have a great support mechanism. That's where we step in and fill in all the gaps. But the network in and of itself, you have to give credit where credit's due. It works. It works in the event of a hurricane. It works in the event of a power outage. We have companies in Texas who are putting this on the roof because they're remembering the ice storm from 3 years ago. There's been a tremendous demand in the Southeast based on the hurricane experience from last fall when they lost power and there was no comms. So Starlink is a fantastic diversity exercise. The application for this is obviously for remote sites, but the other application, I think this is the sleeping giant, is all of your customers who have had a strategic advantage or strategic advance towards the cloud over the last 5 years have created a risk for themselves where if they can't get to the cloud, they've essentially gone out of business until they get to the cloud again. And since no one can manage backhoe and flood risk with 100% certainty, it's just not possible. This is what you put on the roof to guarantee I can get to my cloud applications. It's fast enough, it's diverse enough, and you literally can't cut it. And nor are you dependent on the local networks because you can get to space. So it has a broad reach from a performance standpoint. Underneath the hood, at the end of the day, we're taking the carrier speed from 1 and 2, or 1 and 2 and 3, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. As a practical matter, you can bond up to 4 circuits. As a theoretical matter, you go up to 20, but the costs on that start to get out of hand. We see people tending to stop at 4 because there's a price jump at 5. You have to go to a different set of gear. 4 circuits seems to be what people stop at when they put this in. They go, that's fast enough. And that's getting people into the 400 to 600 meg down range and the 100 to 200 meg up range by mixing and matching circuits. It is dependent on 5G local quality. If you're 10 miles from anywhere, no, this won't work. But most people aren't 10 miles from nowhere. I just say that because someone always brings it up to me, so I say it first. If there's no cell signal, there's no cell signal. That's just the way it is. But most places have cell signal nearby. It's tough to not have any cell tower from any 3 carrier available to you. And then we can start using that to mix and match. So this is just a visual representation of how, and arbitrarily we picked 1 Starlink dish and 3 5G routers. It could be 2 and 2, it could be 3 and 1, it could be 4 of one, it could be 4 of the other. We didn't have enough slides it starts to get algorithmic the more you add. But that's the concept of Metro Bond. Go faster, eliminate Starlink, create diversity.
So Tom, make it real for me. Like an average deployment, take this example that we're looking at here. Am I handing off 4 Ethernet, plugs to a client? Am I handing off 1? Like, help me understand how the actual logistics of, say a Metro Bond X4 with 4 total circuits kind of terminates to the client's handoff router.
Yeah, what's great about this is that we're only taking up one WAN port. So it's single Ethernet, regardless of what we engineer on the upstream, whether it's 2, 3, or 4, we're handing off single Ethernet. And so we're taking up, I call it WAN port X. I used to say WAN port 2, but now you might have 4 to 6 WAN ports. So we plug us into WAN port X and then route traffic to us in round robin and active in load balance, however you want. And generally speaking, we're plugging into either a Meraki or a SonicWall or some type of VeloCloud SD-WAN device. And then send as much traffic over us as you want. Then in the event of catastrophic meltdown, send all traffic to us. The second piece to emphasize on this is that we can deliver static IP, and we can deliver it in 1/30/20 or /29/28. So for network security and for, we're going to talk about this in the case study, but the CISO weighed in when we were going to put this in for a Fortune 1000 utility company and said, if it's wireless, we can't do it because there's no static IPs. I have to have 13. And I said, we can get you 13 static IPs. He said, oh, okay, prove it and I'll sign off on this. And we did. So that project was dead at the security level because they demanded that's how they run their security, is with static IPs. We were able to deliver that. Most wireless providers cannot, but we can. And so single Ethernet handoff, full static IP ranges, and multiple carriers upstream, downstream.
Well said. Well said. I think for the folks who really get into the nuts and bolts of it, something else that's really cool that we can do that, say, Starlink cannot do directly, or T-Mobile, Verizon, whatever upstream kind of wireless direct carriers that you work with, there are a few capabilities that you just can't get from other folks. Number one is the out-of-band management. And this really comes into play when, say, the Starlink network goes down. I'm looking at my left-hand screenshot here in the red. We have the ability in the in-control portal, the cloud portal management tool, to set priority settings of, what circuit gets used first, which one in case Starlink goes down is, say in this case, Verizon goes up, right? So in this case, in my example, Starlink has an outage. What's really cool about our software is we can see if the dish is obstructed due to snow, or say a bird landed on it, or a rock landed on it, whatever happened. And in this case, Verizon is set up to be the secondary circuit for that client in this event. In this particular deployment, this client also has a CenturyLink circuit. It's probably a coax or a fiber traditional wireline circuit. That's just as a reminder to you that not only can we bond wireless circuits, we can also bond pre-existing fiber or coax or whatever DSL circuits. I think we bonded a T1 last year out in Boston or something like that. And then the fourth carrier, the fourth WAN circuit in this deployment is an AT&T FirstNet SIM. You can see it's an LTE with good coverage there. And so what's interesting is my NOC team can always log into this device remotely as long as at least one of the 4 circuits is up, right? So even if Starlink is down, I can still review this deployment. I can still access the same static IPs. It's a seamless failover and failback. Or in some cases, we're doing active-active, right? And we're using all 4 circuits at once. And so again, when you go to Starlink Direct, they obviously cannot offer this, right? When you go to Verizon Direct, they can't sell you AT&T bonded, right? And so that's a cool thing that we, Metro Wireless, as the carrier agnostic firm, can offer you by doing that. The other interesting thing too is on the right-hand side, we have the ability to monitor all of your sites under a single sign-on and a single pane of glass. We have a lot of multi-site clients, 20, 30, 40 sites, who want the ability just to log into one portal, and whether they're using Verizon, T-Mo, AT&T, or Starlink as their last mile provider, they're able to see all of their circuits from this cloud portal. We're also able to monitor those connections and configure outage and usage alerts. So say they've run out of priority data on Starlink, let's flip over to the 5G, or maybe they want to buy up some top-up data. Say their wireline fiber circuit went down, let's send them an email trigger, so that way their MSP or their internal IT team can start to work through that, right? You don't have to procure every circuit through us. We're able to plug in any circuit or WAN that you bring to the deployment and utilize that, and then get these kind of monitoring statistics as well. It's a really cool thing that our clients love. They don't always think to ask for it up front, but we always love kind of doing a demo either at the time of installation or at any point in the process to get them set up with the cloud portal. It's a really cool thing. But anyway, Tom, tell us about NG in Texas and what we did for them. And I know this one's about a month in at this point, so they're pretty well satisfied. But this is probably one of the cooler ones we've done recently, I know.
Yeah, this one's very cool. Although there's ones coming down the pike that are going to eclipse it. But as it stood, it was the coolest deal that we did in April. Let's say it like that. This was a typical account. They had a high value office in Texas. They couldn't get the bandwidth they wanted. The fiber build out was $300,000. A pretty typical channel story. They wouldn't sign off on the fiber build out, and they went looking for bandwidth. They settled with us. They were hard on us. This is a Fortune 1000 company. They're actually European Union based with extensive operations here in the United States. If you'll notice, we're very circumspect about customers. If we don't have a release from our customers, we don't say their names, and that we extend that to your customer as well. What they were looking for, and what they frankly were pretty skeptical of, is, can I get at least 300 down and at least 75 up, given that I can't get fiber or coax with 13 static IPs? That was the requirement. And we said, yeah, so we did a site survey. We looked up the nearest cell towers. We looked at the capacity in the cell towers and said, yeah, with external antennas to make sure we get clean signal, we think we can get you there. There's a little side note there on 5G. The way the 5G networks are working right now, you get better performance if you put an antenna outside. It is not required. It's not required. However, it's higher frequency. The 5G bands that are making everything run faster are higher frequency wavelengths, and they just don't penetrate buildings as well. That's physics. If it doesn't work, if that's unacceptable to someone, you can argue that with Einstein. And my competitors like to claim that everything's the same and it's just plug and play, but it's not. Particularly with 5G, if you can get signal outside the building, you will get 40 to 100% gains. Those higher frequencies just are not penetrating through buildings as well. It's just the way it is. So since we're here to go fast, and we're specialists in going fast, we're recommending antennas. They're not required, but we like them. In this case, the customer put up 3 external antennas. That's what got them the performance they needed, as well as 1 Starlink. They bonded it all together. They installed it, which I was skeptical of, but I was impressed. They got it done. We filmed a video for them, which has since been put on our YouTube channel, of how to assemble all this. They followed it to the letter. There was no backing up like in your typical IKEA deployment. They just powered right through it, and we turned it on. Net result, we ended up at 375.82 with 13 static IPs. CISO signed off, security signed off, operations signed off, everybody signed off, and this has been in production now for 6 weeks. So this was a nice solution, and then subsequently they have ordered 3 more. So we're waiting, and we're waiting when we've installed 1, and we're waiting to install 2 more. They have all the gear. When customers control their own install, then they control their own timeline. But that was the net effect, is they ended up with 4 of them. So Metrobond X4 goes for anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a month. This account is now a $6,000 a month biller with us, starting at 0 in March. It's now a $6,000 a month deal. That's a nice deal for most agencies that will pay attention to that. So wireless isn't just $30 backup circuits that may or may not work and don't add up to anything, and I'm just taking out a headache. Wireless can move the needle. When you're solving for problems other people can't solve, the MRC becomes enough to pay attention to, and it moves the needle. You'll notice when the commission checks come in.
Yeah, well said, Tom. Well said. Before we get to the Q&A session, I always like to tell people what we just told them. And so, again, just to kind of put it in summary, why are clients electing for managed Starlink or bonded Starlink from Metro Wireless? Number one of the biggest requests we get to is, Starlink directly cannot provide static IPs, but we at Metro Wireless can. Whether you, as Tom said, whether you need a /30, a /29, a /28, we even have clients who want a /27 or /26 out there. We have the ability to route all of those via the PepLink router for Starlink, and that's a really cool thing. The second piece is Starlink even not only just for residential customers, but for commercial customers. Starlink still only offers web and portal-based NOC support. There's no true phone number. There's no SLA on their support. Whereas with Metro Wireless, we offer that 24/7, 365 NOC with my team here in Detroit that's outside my door. And we average less than 30 seconds to answer the phone, right? We take support pretty seriously. We treat these like the enterprise grade circuits. We treat it like a fiber circuit, right? An SLA fiber circuit. What's also cool is because of our relationship with Starlink and our partnership with them, we have direct access to their level 2 engineers to kind of work with them on any odd or complex support challenges. Fortunately, we don't run into that many issues, but we always have that option available to us when they need it. That's a pretty cool thing that my team likes to have and our clients certainly benefit from. The last thing I'll say, and Tom touched on this, Starlink doesn't offer true professional installation, but we offer white glove professional install anywhere in the world. Typically, if you're within, say, the 2-hour or 3-hour driving radius of Detroit, we can get you installed within the week. Out-of-state installs typically take 2 to 3 weeks to schedule, but are really easy. And so just to be clear, we offer 3 ways to run with Starlink with us. Clients can elect to self-install. Tom was just talking about that for that case study that he just referred to. Clients can elect for our W2 construction team to come out, and it's our own team wearing the Metro Wireless shirts and everything like that, installing it, who have done hundreds of these installs. That's the most pricey, but obviously very fluid and easy for everyone. The third option is we have a contracted install base that we rely on nationally. These guys are installing satellite dishes all over the place all the time. And it's kind of the middle option of where you might not want to pay, say, $3,000 for one of our guys to fly out, but you also don't want to roll it yourself and try to, get on a roof on a ladder or what have you. So that's a lot of clients kind of opt for that middle tier, if you will. So those are just 3 reasons why clients elect for bonded Starlink and managed Starlink from Metro Wireless. Tom, I think it's time to get into the Q&A, and I'll kind of get us going here. At the top here, Zach, you reached out to us and said, hey, what can we do for an existing customer who purchased Starlink from Starlink directly or another provider? Can we take over their Starlink account, or can we tack on an overlay of equipment in 5G? Yes and yes. So what's really cool about our relationship with Starlink is that we can run something called an LOA process that allows us to take over the billing of that dish that's out in the field already. We will assume the billing for that dish, and then we can bill that customer. We will also do at that point is deploy our own peplink router, and from there we can overlay the static IPs and things like that. If a client wants to keep their billing with their existing provider, whether that's Starlink Direct or another third party like ourselves, what we have the ability to do is Metro Retro. It's not an official product name. It's kind of cheesy, but Tom and I like it. And so we can always deploy a peplink router to that existing location on the Starlink, and then we would obviously just bill for the management of the peplink router, the static IPs, the bonding with the 5G and the 5G SIM card. So we're able to retroactively kind of help out clients who for whatever reason don't want to change their existing Starlink billing. So thank you for your question there, Tom. Did I miss anything on that?
No, it's well said. I would like to throw that out to the audience and bring it back. Do you have people who have overages? Are you experiencing complaints or throttling? Because we do have a product we can get out the door to solve this problem. It's Metro Retro. It is stupid cheesy, but we're in love with it. So it's the dad joke of products at Metro Wireless. So we're just going to have to roll with it. We can get an unlimited SIM card out there and start doing load balancing immediately and get them out of this throttling top-up game. If in fact people are experiencing a problem, that's what I'm very curious about that and if anyone wants to comment on that or ask a question about it, I'm very curious as to what we're experiencing in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. The next question, Zach, I'm going over for yours as well. Does your unlimited 5G service have productivity filtering, or is it truly open? So it is truly open, whether you're just buying a good old-fashioned 5G circuit from us, which is frankly the bread and butter of Metro Wireless, whether you're buying a metered SIM or a metered service like pay by the gig, or you're buying our unlimited data, it is truly open for how you want to use it with static IPs or DHCP. That also remains true, of course, if you bond it with Starlink or Verizon and AT&T together. It is truly open in that sense. I know a lot of other carriers kind of have the asterisk mark with that, but with us, you do not. And that's because we have good wholesale agreements, carrier direct, and we're able to leverage our buying power with those carriers and offer our clients good rates for truly unlimited products. I'm going to move to another one from Brian Dean here. Brian is asking, who is providing the static IPs? Where are the carrier gateways for the static IPs? Brian, let me know if I'm not answering your question, but we actually have our own static IP blocks with Aaron and our own ASN and all of that. Because of our history and of being a true fixed wireless carrier in Detroit with 25 pop sites and all the things, we have our own static IP blocks, and so they route out of our data center here in Detroit. We're looking also to get a data center in Denver, Colorado for all our West Coast clients that would enjoy being a little bit closer to the edge there. So that's who's actually providing those static IPs. If you just need a single /30, sometimes we will do a pass-through from the carrier direct on that SIM card, but whenever a client needs multiple static IPs, that's coming from Metro Wireless. If you run a speed test, that matter, what have you, it'll say Metro Wireless on there. The next question, Don, I'm going to go with here is, can you go over some best practices for Starlink? First off, install, I'm just going to start from like soup to nuts here. And Don, let me know if I'm not getting to the root of your question, but with the installation, quality install is key. I'm not saying that you have to use our construction managers on our W-2 to for your install, but you really want to follow best practice with making sure you mount the dish in a location where it's not going to blow away. It's not going to get damaged. It's secure. Any cable routing, right? You want to make sure that you're not at risk for any water ingress or egress there. The second piece to think about, perhaps even before that, is the data plan that you're going to need. If it's a simple failover circuit, maybe 50 gig a month is enough for you. But if you're going to be using this as a primary circuit, 50 gigabytes per month of priority data is not going to be enough for you. You're probably going to want 500 gig or a terabyte or even more than that. And so kind of planning your needs around that and considering whether bonding makes sense for you to kind of alleviate any cost issues is something to think about there. The other piece too is making sure that you're working with a good provider who can, and again, of course we're plugging Metro Wireless because we're biased, but making sure you select the right provider for your needs. Starlink is great direct for residential and consumers. It doesn't have the great kind of business and commercial support that a lot of enterprise customers need. And that's why Starlink opened up this program to partners like ourselves. So I hope I answered some of your questions. Tom, are there any other best practices that we should be passing along to Don?
Make sure the Starlink can see the sky. That seems obvious, but we went to an install when we went to site survey and they said, put it here. Well, you can't see the sky because of the tree. I mean, it was one of those things. You have to put it here. If you don't put it here, it has to go here. Because you know how people get opinionated about things. Okay, if I put it here, there's a tree right over it and I can't see the sky and it won't work. Do you still want me to put it here? No, we're gonna have to find another place. So make sure you can see the sky. And then you have 95 feet of cable from the Starlink to your handoff. And there really isn't a successful a jumper cable, we call it, successor cable, cable extension, whatever you want to call it. That's a proprietary cable. So be mindful of your 95 feet. And again, I'll just state the obvious here. If you're going to put in Starlink, you are going to put a dish on the roof and you must bring a cable back in. You're going to put a hole in something. And so people have to head nod. Yes, you can put a hole in my wall. We will never put a hole in the roof ever because there's no reason to, but we're going to have to put a hole in the wall. And so your total travel length, 95 feet. That includes your drop, your horizontal, your vertical, however you're going to get to your handoff. You got 95 feet. That's probably it on the fixed side. On the mobile side, the best practice, we didn't talk about this as much as we should have. The fact that Starlink is now using its data plans and that 1 terabyte plan pricing, that used to be just if you were just sitting there, but now it works if you're mobile. If anyone has appetite, anyone has any appetite at all for starting a mobile comms practice, we've got something for you. There is a peplink kit that from Metro Bond where you drop the Starlink Mini right into the case, you drop the kit right next to it, and then it's weatherproof, and then you close it up, and then it takes power, and there's an external Ethernet. You can put it on top of anything, and it's got vibration shock, it's got vibration absorption in it, and it's basically turns anything into you have internet anywhere. And add on top of that, we're coming out with, and you'll be hearing about this, we're coming out with a Wi-Fi product that broadcasts at least half a kilometer. We're told up to 2 kilometers, but we're skeptical of that, but we're putting it through its paces this weekend, where we can turn any vehicle, we can get internet anywhere in the world through Starlink, and then we can turn hotspot on and broadcast internet out at least half a kilometer in every direction, right from the top of the vehicle. So if that fires anyone up, talk to me. But I answered the question from Donna Cho with great thoroughness. Let us move on.
And Tom, as far as a 50 gig one-time top up, what does that cost? Do we know offhand?
That's $25 in a one-time scenario.
I see. Okay. And what about recurring?
And that's not recurring. So you use it or lose it. And then if it runs out, you immediately throttle again. So the software is good. So we had a customer who was having a problem with some ransomware. They didn't realize it at the time. They're burning through gigs. We added 100 gig and they ran through it in 2 hours. And then they added another 100 gig. And I said, okay, let's add another 100 gig, but this is ridiculous. You got to get your MSP on the line. We added another 100 gig. They burned that up by the following morning. They got throttled again. we did help them find it. We isolated things off. It was something stupid. I can't even explain what was on the guy's computer, but it was using 9 gig an hour just from his computer. So we found that and we got him out of the game. If you do a permanent block, it's 500 gig. And that's $125. So that's 25 cents a gig, but that's permanent. You will get billed for that every month. The gigs don't carry over. If you don't use them, that's just the way it goes. There's inevitably going to be breakage on that. And you have to guess right. If you add 500 gig and you use 600 gig, you still are into the top up block game. So we're back to managing data plans here. It's far more complicated than when it was introduced. And I don't think people are going to like that.
I concur. And Tom, do you have the price for a 500 gig block?
Yeah, 125.
125, $125.
$125, which comes out to 25 cents a gig.
Yes, copy. Okay, but you obviously can't buy it by the gig. You buy it by the block, right? Okay,
correct. Yep. So it's $500 for a permanent upgrade. It's 500 gig for $125.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
And you can buy as many of those as you want. There's no limit.
Copy. Matt McElliott had a question. If a user needs IPv6, does that cause any complications? Matt, no. So the way we at Metro Wireless set up our tunnels, our routers, our speed fusion technologies, everything's built transparently in that respect. So we don't block, modify, redirect any data or protocols. Thus, it shouldn't cause any complications. But we have network engineers on staff who can kind of work with you on the particular needs and requirements of your deployment to get you where you need to be on that. The next question was from an anonymous attendee. What software do we use for a single pane of glass? What access do you give to resellers? What I can tell you here is that because we're on the PepLink platform, we use their own, what they call InControl, or InControl 2 is the new platform. That is a cloud-based monitoring tool that we both use. Now, we can co-manage that with resellers, agents, MSPs, etc. In fact, a lot of end users don't care to log into their deployments, which we understand, right? And in fact, they give access to their MSPs or partners. And so we're happy to co-manage that with you. We're happy to give you demos of how the management and monitoring controller works. It's super slick. I frankly wish more people used it. More of our clients used it just because it helps us kind of showcase the capability and the value that we bring to our clients. But yeah, and that's also to say too, for every site that you have, you get put into, I'll call it a folder, if you will, or a tenancy. And that way you can see all the sites you have from a single sign-on, and you can double click into each site and see it all. So it's a really cool option that we offer to our clients. Richard Dorr asked about 5G worldwide. Is that an option? So yes, we do have an option for that, Richard. Again, regardless of whether you're bonding it with Starlink or not, our 5G and LTE data services, we do have international options available. Depending on the particular country, you might be looking at a metered option. We don't always have unlimited everywhere, but you can trust that we do have a metered option at least everywhere that you could want it. So thank you for the question there. We do get some questions on that. Paul Petro asked, hey, can you go over pricing? So it's interesting. If we're talking about Metro Bond as far as like 5G and 5G or 5G and Starlink, there's a whole gamut, right? I mean, we have clients who are backup only, needing pretty simple solutions in that $350 a month to $400 a month range. But the case study that Tom just went through for that oil and gas client, Tom, are they paying $1,300 or $1,400 a month? Is that right?
They ended up at $1,400 with everything's on full blast, and they have a big Starlink data plan.
So it really runs the gamut, and it all depends on, it's part of our pre-sales process to understand, are we solving for cost? Do you want fastest speeds? Do you want carrier redundancy? Are you using this in a primary or a failover situation? How important is uptime to you? So we really ask all the questions. I used to say, Metro Wireless runs from $60 to $600 a month. Now we have options that are cheaper than that per month, and we have options obviously that beyond the $600 a month, right? And so it just depends, Paul, on what you're looking for. Reach out to us at sales@metrowireless.com. We do have kind of a pricing flyer to kind of give you a sense of the range there. Zachary asked a question on any early words on Kuiper. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he's referring to Amazon's satellite, lower Earth orbit satellite service called Kuiper. It's very cool what they're doing, Zachary. I've kind of looked at some of their FCC filing documents on the dishes that they'll be using, the ground stations, the speeds. I'm really excited for Starlink to have a competitor. I'm not here to have a comment on Elon Musk and what people perceive of him, but I do think more competition in the LEO satellite internet space will be good for everyone. And so to that end, I look forward in 2026 is when I'm hearing that we're really going to see feet on the street as far as our ability to purchase that service. I personally am trying to see if we can get Metro Wireless to be an Amazon Kuiper partner. And the last thing I'll say about it is the service seems really cool in the sense that we'll be able to buy dedicated internet packages, whether it's 400 megabits per second per month, a gig circuit, things like that, where we can't offer a true SL8 speed today. In the future, I'm hoping that Starlink, and Kuiper kind of offer that, and it looks like they're trending in that direction, which is pretty cool. Tom, while we wait for any other questions to roll in, is there anything that we forgot to bring up today that we should be discussing?
No, it's I guess keep your eyes and ears open for people complaining about overages. And the one thing that that is kind of embedded in this, but I'll point out directly, is there was a perception that in the channel, because everyone in the channel is buying it from Starlink at the exact same price that end users are buying it from Starlink. This is the worst kept secret in the industry. So let's just say it. Everybody knows this. Everybody in the channel is then upcharging Starlink, adding value to it, whether it's consolidated billing or better performance or bonding or single pane of glass or static IPs or what have you. Everybody's adding value, charging more than Starlink does direct, and then paying commissions. That is the Starlink business model in the channel. We're competing with the channel. But what has been shot through this for the last year and a half is once a customer goes to Starlink direct, I can't compete. That was true until now. It's no longer true. If you have a customer or a prospect or someone says, I have Starlink direct, if they're using 3 terabytes a month, then they're spending $750 a month minimum on Starlink, because every terabyte costs $250. That's a $750 a month client, and they have crap service. They have no support whatsoever, none. And they can't get a static IP. And so you have something, whereas Metro Bond comes in at $779 for a dual bonded circuit. It runs faster. They can get static IP. They can get single pane of glass. They can get consolidated billing. They can get support, and it's faster and it's dual diverse. So any 3 terabyte customer or higher is now a prospect for you. And if they're a 6 terabyte customer, it's a no-brainer. So an entire slice of the market opened up that was closed previously. I guess I'll close with that comment. $15 a month, Matt. The cost was, what's an IP? It's $15 for one, $49 for 5, and $79 for 13.
Is it 49 or 39 to add 5?
49.
Okay. Yes, thank you. And again, we have the ability to add as many static IPs as you want. But anyway, Tom, thank you for that. And thank you everyone for joining today. Just as a quick reminder, we will send out all the slides, the recording, and the transcription here in the next few days. Don't be surprised if we get a reach out personally from our sales team just to see if we can schedule a conversation to discuss this in further detail one-on-one. In addition to that, I do want to call out, we will be having a webinar coming out in July. It's likely to be about DAS, our cellular boosting service that we have for in-building LTE and 5G coverage. We're pretty excited about that. We do really well in that space, and we're known as the experts. So thank you all so much for coming today. Please also keep an eye out in our marketing emails. My mother tells me that I am rejection sensitive, so please do not unsubscribe from our emails. And we enjoy staying in touch with you guys. So again, thank you so much for your time today. And we will let everyone get 7 minutes back in their hour.
Cool. Thanks, guys.